What's up everyone, Dan Ellis from Dartech, and I promise this is the last tutorial on the Artisteer playlist. I just remembered I had to do something that I needed to show you because I found that I struggled with this when I was creating my templates on a lot of my websites, and it was giving me no end of grief, and I was having to go into the actual template in Joomla and fiddle around with it to get it to work. And what it is, it's the controls. It's your controls section. This little page here, if you look over this side here when you open up Artisteer, you've got your typography, okay, which is all your headings. There's your headings, sizes and stuff there. Let me just fix this content up a little bit because it says line spacing is annoying me. That's a bit better. From here, when you look at your typography and your controls links over here, you can see what your styles look like. Okay, so heading 1, you can see heading 1 there. We can go to our heading 1 over here and we can change the color of that, and you can see the color change here. All right, so that's pretty handy. So what you can look at there is you can see your headings go down in size, and look, heading 5 is a little bit too big and possibly heading 4 is a little too small. We may even have a quick look at heading 3 and see what size that is. That's size 18, so yeah, that's okay. So heading 4, pretty sure we made heading 4 14, didn't we? Yes, so let's make heading 5 13 and heading 6 12. Now I do make them reasonably small, and the reason I do that is because when you go into Joomla, as I said before, Joomla modules use these headings here for a lot of their content in the areas, and you can't change it out of there. You've got no other choice. So I tend to keep these headings reasonably small because they're actually used in your modules and your some of your content on your modules and your lists in Joomla. So I'll leave those fairly small. Okay, so let's have a look at our typography here. Again, this one up the top here, if we have a look at our post header and have a look at our style, notice the heading over here has changed somewhat when you do this. Okay, you can see things change. That's your post header up there. So your post is the article that you've posted, okay, and it gives you the style of your header up here. So you can see that there. And your post footer is all your style of your stuff down the bottom. Now, I tend not to use a lot of this stuff. When I read an article, I don't like having all this noise and bits and pieces sitting around my article, so I leave a lot of that out of it. If people want to subscribe to my channel, I'll put a subscribe button somewhere on the page and not up here next to the links. Although again, if you want to do it, that's entirely up to you. Okay, so post footer, we can have a style. I might leave it, that looks pretty good. But let's make the text really small. All right, so at least then it's not so, it's actually not quite so intrusive. There we go, so it's a lot smaller. Doesn't look too bad. Our post header, what have we got here? Okay, our text header up here. Okay, if that's too big for you and you don't like that size, we can bring that down a little bit by going to our headline and go text and our size and drag that down to like 18 or something. There it goes. So it looks a little bit smaller, a little bit more user friendly. Might make it a little bit bigger, maybe make 20. Yeah, that looks a bit better. And if you want to make it bold, we just go into here and go style and bold it up a little bit. That looks a bit better. Okay, so you can play around with your text in your post header. This is kind of handy, this area here, because Joomla does use a lot of that sort of stuff in its menus and things rather than your headings. So just be aware of that. If you find you're struggling to get your heading down a little bit, it's in your headline and you just change the text and size. Just remember to hit on the typography styling over here, and you can see all the styling that you have of your text. So you go to our block quote, you can make your text a little bit bigger here. Okay, and that's getting a bit closed, so that's okay, you see your list. There's your bullet for your list. Your table here, remember it's got no lines on the data, we didn't put it in there. So this is going to show you how your page is going to look like when you're actually publishing your documents. So it's kind of handy. Now your controls, these are your buttons, navigation, a lot of your social icons and your forms and things. Now notice there's things that we have here that change a lot. Now we go to our controls, and if we look at our input, we can change the styling of our forms. Notice you can change the way it looks. See, they change the line, the colours, and so forth. One thing I found is when I create one of these templates and I open up an extension for Joomla, I use RS Forms for my forms. It's a paid extension, but its support is second to none. It's a brilliant piece of extension. What I found though was that my template was causing these fields to be 100% wide, and I didn't like the look of that, especially when you had big forms and everything was going all the way to the side. No, it really annoyed me. But what I found is what you need to do is go into your input and go more options, and over here notice the width size is 100%. What I do is I'll change the percentage to pixels and come back down. Now notice when I do this and I change it down to bring it down to like 185 pixels or 170 odd pixels, okay, the pixel size, these form sizes, should reduce in size. They don't seem to do it on this form, but believe me when I say that's what they do. Okay, so your width type, I would leave it as fixed, and the width size, I'd change it to pixels, and I would set it at whatever you want, say 200 to start with. Okay, and I set that to where it is because if you don't, you'll end up with a massive big field that goes all the way across your page. It's fine if you like that, but if you don't like it, then you need to come in here and change this. Okay, I'm just going to go back to this input and change this text style again to maybe that one. Now your padding and your vertical offset, this is what changes the width of your field for your text. Okay, now if we bring that up a little bit, okay, there's your padding. Again, your padding is away from the side of the div box. So let's bring that back down to make it 5. Your vertical offset, if we make that 10, you will notice that these fields now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the input control, and every time you click on it, this changes your layout and your options for each of the controls. If we click on the buttons, you have some options on your buttons. Okay, our passive, hovered and pressed. Okay, if we go hovered, we put a fill over it. Okay, when you hover over it, notice it hovers. Okay, when you hit the press button, just make it a completely different color. Okay, if we press it, notice that it changes color. So that's your buttons and what they're going to look like when you actually use them on your website. Your controls, if we click on that, notice our options change here, and our vertical padding here is what changes the height of your field. And you can have massive big fields with writing on the inside, or you can make it a little bit more conservative and bring it down to 3 pixels and have it like a fairly reasonable size form. Again, you can change your radius. You can either have massive big circular ones and have round fields like that. That's not too bad. Or you can have it pretty much square. Okay, so pretty handy. Okay, if we click on our checkbox, we can have our checkbox options. So we can make them big checkboxes. I think you're actually limited by the size of your checkbox you can have here. And I think it's a lot of it to do with the actual size of it. Not so much the box itself, but what's around it is the size. So I tend to leave these ones alone. Bring it down about the same size as your font, maybe a little bit bigger. Same for your radio buttons. There's not much difference there with those. Okay, you can change your text here to red. So that's how you change your text. We can have a search tools, much the same as your other settings on your form field. You can get a search field in Joomla. I tend not to use it though. I'll use a module for that if I need to. Okay, our pager. This actually displays usually at the bottom of our articles or our blog page if you're running a blog setup. Okay, and again, you can have all your settings down here. Have a play with it, see what it looks like, and you might enjoy which one you want to use. Okay, so it's just a setup there. I tend to leave it fairly simple if I can. If you want to make a fill on it, so there's your sections there. Change it a bit further. Okay, so you can do things like that. Sometimes it looks pretty good. Okay, social network icons. There they are. There you can have your presets, so you can pick whichever one you want. There's a heap in there, or you can pick your own from a file. Okay, settings for comments. Again, have a play with all this sort of stuff. okay, and that's all your controls. So just remember, when you're looking at forms and bits and pieces, hit your controls tab down here, and just go through each of those areas to make sure that your settings, you're comfortable with all the settings on these. Same as your typography. Your typography here shows you exactly how and what your page looks like. Now it's important to know that because when Artisteer defaults, it defaults to static data. And sometimes you won't actually see all the settings in your static page that you've been setting up. So you go to typography and you'll see everything that you've set up. And that, I promise you, is the last tutorial for this playlist. Once again, if you have any questions, please make a comment. I'll read it. I read comments every day, and I'm happy for you to ask the questions. If I've missed anything, I'll do up a whole new tutorial for you and continue on with these lists. If you got something out of it, hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel. I'm doing more and more playlists for Joomla on all different fronts. Again, have any requests on that front, let me know, and I'll catch you on the next tutorial. Bye for now.